You want to say hi? Hi, people. Hi. Yeah.
Maybe we can find a way to merge them.
Welcome back, guys, to another video. My name is Samantha, and if you're new on the channel, I am the mother of this beautiful 7-month-old baby. And I usually do these videos in my nursery, but I thought that today would be fun to do it in front of our fireplace in our family room with the baby in his toy. And so I apologize in advance for the noise, but it is a baby video, and in case you didn't know, babies are noisy. So bear with me for that. We're gonna have him for the entire video. We hope that he's gonna be very patient, but for now, let's get right into it. So number one is baby clothes. A lot of people told me don't get newborn clothes. A lot of people told me get a lot of newborn clothes. In my case, he was a 10-pound baby, so obviously, if you haven't seen the birth vlog, I'm gonna put it right here for you guys to go see. I had him as a C-section, and so newborn only fit for 1 week. But nevertheless, all your smaller clothes, what I would say is get all onesies for smaller clothes and zippers. Nobody has time for snaps. They're super cute, but they take long. And when your baby is like mine and doesn't like the cold, although he was born in August, he hated the cold. So zippers were our best friend. He's really rough, you'll see. Yeah, so zippers and getting onesies with feet and onesies without, because my baby does not like sleeping with his feet covered. And so that's super good to know, to get both. A lot of people say that socks are not fun for babies. So my grandmother knit me some little booties. Here, let me get them. My grandma knit me some little booties like this, and these actually stay on. They don't fall off. So I don't really wear socks. I don't put socks on them. I do these or nothing. But definitely onesies when they are small. Now, once they're, I would say 6 months and above, in terms of size, because he was wearing 6 months at, I think, 2 months old. But I do like having 2-piece sets. And when I say this, I mean 2-piece sets because they tend to grow differently, babies. And if you really want to get more time, once your baby's used to being changed and is super chill about it, which mine is, we got through this whole being cold thing, I would say 2 pieces are really practical because his bum doesn't grow as fast as, let's say, like his shirt size. So I'm able to still fit him into like 12-month pants, but I can't fit him into 12-month shirts. So I say 2 pieces. Once they start growing, you get way more out of your clothes. Again, that's for me, and I want to give a disclaimer. Everything I'm saying here is for me, and if it doesn't apply to you, that is also okay. Everybody's different, every baby is different, and I just want to let you guys know. This is really as if I'm like your bestie, kind of just telling you the nitty-gritty of things I wish I knew before I had a baby. So number 2. Everybody talks about sleeps with newborn. It's a really hot topic. Obviously, sleep is hard for newborns. We were very lucky. He's a very good sleeper. Yes. We are, yeah, we are co-sleeping. And I really feel like that plays a big part in teaching him, you know, when it's the time to sleep and etc. When he's with me, even though he's beside in his own pillow, he obviously sees us. So when he wakes up, we're all sleeping. And so he kind of just falls back asleep. And it does happen. He wakes up sometimes, I would say around midnight, and then he sees us and I don't turn around or anything and he just falls back asleep. He learns by himself by seeing. So yeah, so for us, I feel like co-sleeping was a really big thing that helped us teach him when to sleep. We used this Sleep Tight Baby pillow, and it's a pillow that's about this big. It doesn't have big sides like some of the ones that are sold that are actually banned in Canada, but it just kind of elevates him and it keeps him from rolling. Mind you, if he really wants to, he could roll over, but it makes it harder for him to roll over because he's a bit elevated. We don't worry about, you know, crushing him or whatever, what people do worry about when you're co-sleeping. So that makes it super easy. He's super comfortable. He's still able to sleep on his sides, and so that makes it super easy. All right, I am rambling a lot. I'm going to need to go a little bit faster. All right, number 3 is schedule. So a lot of people, a lot of gurus and sleep this and blah, 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 they say, you know, my schedule is the best. here is my point of view on the schedule. Babies are like people. Some nights you sleep well and some nights you don't. Don't expect your child to be a robot, first of all. So your expectations need to be that your child is a human. He's going to have some days that he sleeps well and some days that he doesn't. People call it sleep regression. Yes, it's normal. Some days you sleep well and some days you don't. A lot of people will put their babies to bed at like 7 or 8. And while that might sound really great, obviously your baby is going to be up so many times that you're going to feel like you didn't sleep. This could be controversial, but we put him to bed at midnight. Your best quality sleep is really during, I would say, from midnight to 4 a.m. is like really those really hours that it makes a difference if you wake up and if you don't. So if you can sleep from midnight to 5 a.m., which is pretty darn good, you will not be as tired as if you did 8 and then 12 and then 2 and then back at 9, you know? So that was really my ideology behind putting him to bed at midnight. I had no problem staying up till midnight. I'm a night owl, so I stayed up with him and then I would give him his last feeding at midnight, and he used to do 5 hours from the get-go. So that was really nice. I don't really feel like I ever woke up at night because of that. So what I did is I started at 12, so midnight, and then I went backwards. So he would wake up around 5, 6, 7. I stayed at 12, and then I moved back his time. So I would put him to bed at 11. And then he would still wake up at 7. And that's how I made our nights longer and longer without like our sleep being distraught. And I still can put him to bed. If I go to bed at 9, I'll put him to bed at 9. He'll still sleep. And if I go to bed at 11, I can put him to bed at 11 and he can sleep till 10. So he's a great sleeper. I don't know if it has anything to do with what we did or if he's just watching us sleep and that teaches him, but really I would strongly advise to try it, to try putting your kid to bed really late. I know we have so many friends that struggle with their kids waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm kind of like, you know, if you put them to bed at midnight, they're not going to thrive off 5 hours of sleep. So that worked for us. Again, it's personal. I'm just saying to be open-minded, and that's what we did, and it worked, and whatever works for you is best. Number 4, do not be hard on yourself when your baby cries. Your baby is going to cry. It's the way that he communicates. So depending on the age that he's at now, sometimes when I walk away, Hendrix will cry. That's his way of communicating that he's like, why are you leaving me, Mom? But when they're young, if they're cold, they'll cry. If they're hungry, they'll cry. If their diaper is wet, they'll cry. So don't feel like you're being a bad parent because your baby's crying. It's the equivalent of your child speaking to you. Number 5 is your partner's bond with your baby. Now, in our case, I had a C-section, and so he actually saw his father first for skin-to-skin contact, which I believe is really great for their bond. I was super happy they got to have that moment while I was recovering. If you are breastfeeding, obviously you birthed the baby and you did skin-to-skin. Obviously, your bond with your baby is kind of like right away. Some people it is and some people it is. But for the father, sometimes you kind of have to get to know your baby, and that's also okay. So I would say your expectations need to be that, you know, you will obviously fall in love with this being, but you'll get to know them, and that's totally okay too, and not to put pressure. Number 6 is about breastfeeding. We're getting in that topic. It's the Hakka. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Hakka. I will put a picture right here. And I used this like there's no tomorrow. I didn't even know about this before. My friend introduced it to me, and honestly, what a lifesaver. I never had to pump because I used the Hakka. So basically, it's this little handheld silicone, I guess, that you just put on your breast, and it has a suction because you press on it, and when you put it on, it leaves a suction, and it just picks up all the milk you're releasing from the other boob, because in case you didn't know, when you're breastfeeding from one side, the other side leaks. And instead of letting it leak into your shirt, which I'm totally guilty of doing, by the way, I used to put the Hakka, and I could get 3 ounces just from that. So I started doing it every time and bagging it. And I'm gonna list down below the Hakka and the bags that I use and everything. So that was great. I stocked up my entire freezer off a Hakka, and I think it's about $16, so it's so much cheaper than a pump, and it's really, really useful. So I strongly encourage you to check that out. A lot of people I speak to don't know about the Hakka. So number 7 is also about breastfeeding. Now, I did not know this until it happened to me, because my mom only breastfed for 5 weeks, and so she didn't meet the 3-month threshold, and nobody around me breastfed for longer than that either. And I'm still breastfeeding. I plan on breastfeeding until he doesn't need it anymore. Not until he's 2. Like, I'm not that into that idea, but definitely until he's weaned off and eating enough for his own nutrition. I think nutrition is super important. So we're still breastfeeding, even though he has 2 teeth, and it's super great. He's not biting. I mean, again, that's personal. He's still doing great on it. So when you are up to 3 months breastfeeding, your body is in hyperproduction mode. And what I mean is you're often engorged. You'll get mastitis. Like, I got a mastitis, which is like kind of like clogged ducts. It's when Hendrix. So mastitis is when your breasts become very hard. You can get an infection, clogged ducts, and that's because you're not pulling enough out. It happens to pretty much everybody that I know. I didn't go to the doctor or take any antibiotics for that. I tried to do all the natural ways, which were putting hot water, massaging, having him drink a lot from that boob. And after 3 months, what happened was my breast got much smaller, and I thought that my milk supply was going down, but in reality, my body was just adjusting to a more on-demand milk production, which is awesome. And so instead of being in hyperproduction, it was more like he had to work more to get more out, which makes sense. And fun fact, that is your body actually helping the child to work harder to get the milk, and that's kind of it's a path they need to take in order to get stronger and grow up. So our bodies are wonderful, and they're literally magical. So that's really important to know. So if you have not breastfed over 3 months, it probably hasn't happened to you. And if you plan on breastfeeding over 3 months, then do not stress that your milk is going down after 3 months. Your body is simply adjusting to your baby growing. I will make a video only about breastfeeding because I could speak so much about it, and I got so many questions. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8 is a stronger body odor. And honestly, since I've had a baby, since I'm pregnant, I don't know if it's because I had a little boy, but since I'm pregnant and have given birth and have been a mom, I'm a little bit smellier. I don't know if that's because of the hormones, or when I was pregnant, I kind of blamed it on the fact that I had like a boy inside me, so I had more of those hormones, and then that also led to me stinking more. And it's actually really common. So it's happening to a lot of women that they have a stronger body odor, and that's mainly caused by hormones. And so if that's happening to you, well, high five, because me too. And I know it could be a little embarrassing, but I like to keep it real on here, as you guys know. So that's one thing to know before you have a baby, is that might happen. Number 9 is food when you are pregnant. A lot of people, it's different to everyone. Some people eat a lot when they're pregnant. Some people don't eat a lot. What I could say is, for me, I became huge, and there was not much space. There was not much space. Hendrix, you're talking a lot. So there was not much space for my stomach, and that made me actually able to eat less than I normally would. Fun fact, you actually need more calories when you're breastfeeding than when you're actually growing the human, which is crazy if you think about it. But I pretty much ate the same stuff that I did when I was pregnant, except for my food aversions at the beginning. But my nutrition is very clean. I eat whole foods, so fruits, vegetables, meat, and I stick to everything that I could either grow or that I try not to eat anything that's made by somebody else, so nothing that's processed. Mind you, I still go to McDonald's, I still do all those things, but at home, we do everything from scratch, from things that we buy that are whole foods, so that's how we keep our clean nutrition, and I did that throughout my pregnancy and throughout breastfeeding as well. So number 10. Number 10 is, don't listen to anyone that is telling you stuff about your baby. So what I mean by that is, there's a lot of unsolicited advice that comes from family, friends, people online, like trolls. Honestly, do trust your gut. I'm doing a lot of things with my child here that's very noisy that people in my family have never done. And so obviously that's like, it brings up conversations, and it's needed. Like, everybody needs to evolve and everybody's allowed to do their own thing. So it's not because somebody's done something like with 3 kids that it's right. You know what I mean? Like, you're growing, you're human, you only have one shot, so do what you think is right and trust your instinct. For example, I'm doing baby-led weaning. Has anybody done it in my family or my surroundings? No. But I'm doing it because I read about it and I want to do that. Number 11, bleeding. So after you give birth, you bleed for a long time. And so I'm not going to speak too much about this because I think a lot of people know, but for those who don't, you do bleed for, like, I bled for around 6 or 7 weeks, and I didn't even have a vaginal birth. So let that sink in. Yeah, so when they take out your placenta, you have a wound inside and it could bleed, and your body just needs to heal, and that could take weeks. So for me, it took about 6 to 7 weeks, and that's totally normal. So I just want to let you guys know that, because it's really not a fun conversation to have with people, like at the dinner table. So you're welcome. So that was number 11. Now number 12 is being bloated. I was bloated for a really long time. I did have a C-section again, so you are bloated for a longer time because everything's inflamed because you had a major surgery. So I would say give your body some time and rest up, because your body's inflamed and it just needs time to recover. And I don't know if you guys have been following my postpartum body videos, but I have been posting my stomach and how, like, I still looked 6 months pregnant after I gave birth, and that's totally fine, and I didn't care because I knew that it's a process. And I think now, after 7.5 months, I'm actually starting to get back my flat, really, really flat stomach that I used to have. Again, coming back to what I was pre-pregnancy. So it takes time. Time heals you, and just trusting the process, eating clean, get some exercise if you can, but listen to your body. Number 13 is that when you are pregnant, it is okay to slow down. Everybody tells you to slow down, but there is also a difference between slowing down and acting like you are sick. You are not sick, you are not hurt, you're growing a human. And so I do believe in you continuing to do your daily life. So if you were working out, keep working out until your body tells you otherwise. I was working out. So I was working out, and at one point at 21 weeks, my body started cramping up a lot when I worked out. And that was a sign that it was too much. So I stopped and I just did a little bit of yoga, maybe 5 minutes. I was taking walks. Stuff like washing the car, going to the barn. I did get in trouble for picking up a 40-pound bag of grain, and again, I'm a little bit hard-headed, but I truly learned that you need to slow down, but I firmly believe you do not need to stop your whole life. So obviously, if you're pregnant and then you have cravings and you stop your whole life and you're super active, your metabolism is going to make you get much bigger. Personally, I wanted to keep having an active lifestyle, and I was active until I was in labor. So the day that I was in labor, I washed my mom's truck and I went to the barn, exercised my horse, not on him, but on the ground. So, and I was in labor. So I truly believe that you can do a lot of things when you're pregnant. Do not act like you are a delicate petal, because then you will become a delicate petal. Keep moving. So, number 14 is listening to your body. I'm actually very in tune with my body, and I'm good at listening to it. And when I say that, I mean that when I was working out and I started having pains, I stopped, because that's your body's way of telling you that something's wrong. When you're very excited. So when I started getting itchy hands, I started getting itchy feet as well. I kind of said, that's not normal. My body's telling me something. Most people would brush off those symptoms, but I kind of investigated further, and I went on Dr. Google, which obviously is not a doctor, but can tell you a lot about symptoms. And I Googled my symptoms, and what came back is cholestasis of the liver, which is a condition that your liver gets when you're at the end of your pregnancy, and the only way to get rid of it or to cure it is by giving birth. So obviously, since it's usually at the end of pregnancy, it doesn't pose a risk to getting a premature baby. I was already past 36 weeks when this happened. So I waited a week or two, which probably was too long because it is cardiotoxic for your baby. So I'm not giving you medical advice. This is just what I learned through having it myself and the doctor telling me. So it's cardiotoxic for the baby. That's why as soon as you have cholestasis, you need to get induced and have the baby out. If it's just minor like me, it didn't pose a huge risk. But because by the time I told the doctor I was like at 40 weeks, they decided to induce me at 40 plus 1 day. And then it took, or 40 weeks on the dot. And then it took about 3 days from the time they started inducing me for me to give birth. It was 72 hours in labor. Number 15. So this is the before last one. I have 16 things. And I know that it's long, but I really wanted to just share everything in the nitty gritty about being pregnant, postpartum, everything that I could say to help you guys and all those who watch the birth vlog. I know a lot of you guys were pregnant, so I'm trying to share everything in like a timely manner. I know your time is valuable. So number 16 is you time, so me time, you because you're watching. I used to think that by what everybody said that I would need me time when I had a baby. But it turns out that including my baby, and this is truly personal, so hear me out. But including my baby in my me time, here, let me take him out. All right, we changed positions. So including my baby in my me time has made my me time more enjoyable. And although it might not be me time anymore because my baby's included, but I'll give you guys an example. My skincare is super important to me, but because I am usually with my baby, I now have my skincare products on my changing table. And that reason being said that me doing my skincare is really entertaining for him to watch and also teaches him patience. So when I put him down and I decide to do my skincare, he's watching me and I find that such a good example to show your children. Your kids watching you taking care of yourself, whether that's nutrition or something that you care about or your hobbies, kind of teaches them that it's important to take care of yourself. And that's why by including him, I get to do it more often. Let's be honest, you do not get a lot of time without your baby. For me, that was really great, and I've never met anybody that does that. Or that told me, hey, by the way, put your skincare on your changing table. That way you don't have to stop. So let that be a lesson to anyone who does their skincare. Another example is showering. A lot of people told me once you have a baby, it's hard to get a shower in. It's hard to wash your hair. I disagree because I shower with him. So I bought a tub. I bought a tub that we put in the shower. So he gets to take his bath and I'm taking my shower. It's warmer because the shower is running and I'm washing. He is learning patience, to play with himself, like to play with little things in the water, being independent. I wash him, I talk to him. So it's a really great experience for both of us, and then I get to wash more often. It doesn't take time out of our day. I don't feel guilty about it. Like that's another thing. Mom guilt is so real. And I just think that by including him, I don't feel guilty, and two, it becomes me time because I get to do everything that I did before. Again, this is really personal, and if you need your time, like if you need your workout by yourself or stuff like that, like that's totally fine too. And the last thing that I wanted to touch with this is, for example, I love going to the barn, but I bring him, and sometimes, yes, things take longer because he's there, but it's also awesome that I get to teach him and, tell him and show him all of my passions. So he gets to discover the goats or the chickens, the horse, feeding time, walking in mud, stuff like that. So that's super fun, and I'm very big on the idea of including your kids in a lot of things that you do. I don't think your life necessarily has to change, like unless you were in the clubs every night. Obviously, you can't bring your kid, but I don't believe that your life has to change when you have kids. If you just keep living your life, going to restaurants, doing everything you did before, your kids will follow and they'll love it. So Alessio loves to go. He's 8 and he loves to go to the restaurant. he loved going to the restaurant. I went to the fanciest restaurant in Cabo with a baby and an 8-year-old, and nothing, it was fine. But they've been doing it since forever, and so that's why it's easier. So again, this is a personal thing, but I truly believe that your kids are a product of who you are. So if you teach them that like it's fun to go everywhere, it'll be fun for them. I hope this could help you guys. Like, don't put pressure on yourself that you have to have your kids with you all the time, but if you kind of include them in a lot of things you do, life just is so much easier. So that's that. So the 16th thing that I wish I knew before having a baby is that being a parent comes first. And I don't think it's really being the parent that's the hardest. When you become a parent, it's really, or have a baby, what's hard is to keep on doing everything you did before in terms of like making dinner, doing house chores, running a business, doing some work, having a Zoom call. Like, these are all things that you used to do, and now they're being interrupted because you have this little child with very little patience, a lot of noise, and very sporadic hunger. And so obviously that makes your life a little bit harder. So what I would say, and I did have like a little mental breakdown, I think at 2 or 3 months, we were on our low season for our business. So thank goodness, because now we're coming on to our high season, and I need to do work every day. And I'm able to because I have a system. And so what I would suggest is really getting a system and getting used to it the first couple months, getting my baby used to staying here while I walk away and go do some work. And when I'm on calls and have him in my hands and I'm trying to, tell him, okay, let's stay quiet. I know he's tiny, but I'm trying to like instill these little things to make him a little bit more aware. But he's a baby, so whatever. And everybody's working from home now, so it's kind of socially acceptable to hear a baby on the phone. But yeah, having like a schedule and a system in terms of, this day you take 1 hour to clean, this day you do emails, this day that. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to do everything you used to do in a day when you have a baby, because you're adding like a full-time job to what you were doing. I used to think that I would just take care of my baby and, do everything I used to do just with my baby, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So my tip to you would be to have like a lower expectation of being able to get everything done. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. And once you find that system that works for you, then great, you keep doing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope maybe you learned a couple things or it got you ready for being a parent. So with that being said, if you guys like this video, give it a nice thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it to the end, I truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe. We will catch you guys on Thursday with another YouTube video.